Good morning. Debbie Holloway here. I've been asked to do this talk 3 times in the last 2 weeks. And I thought there must be the universe out there saying people need to know this. So I want to share it with you today. And it might be a little longer than my normal 5 minutes, but I think it's important. The pitfalls to building a profitable business. Think about that. We all want to be profitable, but in these days and times, everything's getting more expensive. It can be harder and harder to actually have a profit in what you're doing. And by the way, I think profitable doesn't just mean money. I think it also means your time. Good morning, Maureen. It's so good to have you on here. You're going to really appreciate this. As a hugely successful woman with 4 babies, so here they are. I broke it down into 4 areas, the pitfalls to building your team. They are people, processes, math, and leadership. And Dina, you know I did this with your mastermind group. People, processes, math, and leadership. Those are the 3 areas. If you want a profitable business, you have to think, what people do I need? So under what people, hire to the position. Don't hire your best friend because she just got a divorce and needs a job. Let's not do that. Hire to the position you have. You might find someone you love. And I just got this last week. She found this person she wanted to hire, but they said, well, I'll be an administrative, but then I want to go into sales right away. And she said, what do? I said, set parameters. If this person's personality you think fits administration better, hire them for that and say, listen, in 2 years, and we will look at you doing sales, and you will have to find your replacement for me. So set some parameters around it. The people are really important. Hiring to the position and getting it right out of the box is a really good idea because it makes it a lot easier. But secondly, you have to have systems in place. Remember I said processes? You have to have systems in place, checklists, systems and roadmaps for everything you're doing. Do you have that? If you don't and you're in our ecosystem, all you have to do is go to one of the Facebook pages and say, hey, I need a system for fill in the blank, and people will share it with you. I was telling them, in fact, on Dina's call that I did for her, I was telling them that I had a script for the front desk person if somebody came in. I had a script for returning a problem phone call. I had scripts for everything, just simple little dialogues to help whoever was working with me feel comfortable and confident in the conversations they were having. So processes, I think, is probably one of the top 2 most important. You have to have a good communication system for the people you're going to hire. You cannot think, oh, I've hired Diana. Hey, Diana. I've hired Diana. So Diana, here you go. Here's your desk. Here's your phone. I'm out of here. You can't do that. You have to meet with someone new, 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes at lunch, 15 minutes at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Give them time. Have them write down on a piece of paper you tape to their desk, and this is very old school, on a piece of paper, have them divide it across the middle, and underneath that to ask you about. Above that, people that you want them to call, things you want them to do, create a checklist and a system around that. And I'll share with you one I shared with Dina's group, which I think was pretty good. And that is put 3, if you're hiring an admin, put 3 stack trays on their desk. Because remember, we're just starting out and they're learning. And when you interrupt someone, and I know my friend Belinda Nichols, who's probably watching this, would agree. When you hire someone, they're trying to learn the position, and then you come in and say, here, I need you to do all of this. Well, they're still trying to learn the position. So on those stack trays, the bottom stack tray says sometime this week. The middle one says 24 hours, and the top one says today. Now you write down what you need and you put it in on the appropriate stack tray. Don't put them all on must be done today. Remember, they can't do all of it. Then you have on your desk, or I had mine outside my door, I had 2. One said questions and the other one said completed. So now we're communicating in a way that starting out makes it a lot easier. Thank you, Dina. I appreciate that. I thought there were a lot of really great ideas from that conversation. But you see how the processes not only make the business easier and more profitable and more efficient, you're likely going to keep people a little longer. The third one I mentioned was math. Now, I've never been good at math. I'm not sure they even teach it in our schools here in Kentucky. Just kidding, they do. But math was never my strong suit. As I told Adina's group, when I decided to get into real estate, I said to myself, I want to be my own boss. What can I do? Well, I could do insurance or I could do real estate. Insurance probably requires math. I'll do real estate. Not the best way to make a decision. It worked out okay. But I do think you have to understand the math part. A P&L every month or expenses every month and a P&L every quarter. Finding somebody to do that for you is critical. You'd be shocked the number of people who send me their P&L and they have expenses on there they didn't even know they were paying for. Because in today's society, you can click and get a new app for this and click and get a program for that. And then you have them, you're spending money and you're not using them. So managing your finances, doing a P&L, not buying into another lead source until you know for sure if the one you have is even working. I was working with some clients of mine down in Texas, and they said, oh my gosh, we've got all these lead sources. I said, well, I want a list of them and how much business you've gotten from each, which is one of the things I like about the CSU program, because I can just look and see from where my clients have filled that in. So I had them listed. The majority of them they were getting no business from. Some were free and some they were spending money on. And I said, why do you do them? And they're like, well, these are free. I said, yeah, but you may not be spending money, but you're spending energy and time on something that's getting you zero. So because it's costing you zero doesn't necessarily mean it's free, because your time is not free. The other thing is paying sales agents. You can pay them salaries. You can pay them splits. I always believed I want to pay based on what I'm getting paid. So I'm a firm believer of 50-50 splits. Now, if you have a huge team of people working for you, your splits may be more favorable to them. But what you got to look at first is, what is it costing me for the leads and to run this business? We fail to see all of the expenses in our business. The last one I mentioned was leadership. I do this thing in my women's events, which I'll be doing a women's event at the end of April 29th in Denver from 10 to 5, where we talk about leadership, women as leaders. It's hard. I can tell you from my own experience as a speaker, it is much harder for me to get a gig than a guy. I've even had people come up to me and say, you know, I wasn't going to stay when I saw the speaker was a woman, but you did really good. So we have, I think, an extra challenge. And if you agree with that, please give me some hearts here. Let me know you understand what I'm saying. We have to be so self-aware of who we are and how we want to lead, because for many of us, it doesn't just come naturally. I know they say born leaders. I don't know. Maybe there are some born leaders, but I think leadership comes from our past and comes from our personality. It also comes from the people we surround ourselves with. That's all part of a talk that I do that I'll be doing in Denver. And by the way, if you want to join me in Denver on the 29th of April, there's a link at the top of the Women Influencing Real Estate page. Feel free to click on it and join us. I'd love to have you there. But some tips for women in leadership. You must have time. You must take time for mental discipline. You have to have time where you can gather your thoughts. Every Wednesday, I did a 30-minute call with a woman in Joplin, Missouri, who was a wonderful person, and we had the same goals that year. So every Wednesday, we did a 30-minute accountability call on what's working, what's not. Am I taking time for me? Is my work-life balance, which we know you don't balance work and life, you manage it. Am I doing well with that? Am I leaving someone behind that I shouldn't be? So just kind of getting ourselves caught up. Then secondly, with leadership, don't get caught up in the drama around you. It never works out well. Don't play the blame game. If something goes wrong, as a leader, I can't blame somebody. I'm going to step in and say, hey, Let me start by saying I apologize. There's something that I missed here, and that's my fault. That's the one thing about Tom Ferry that I think is amazing. He's willing to always step in and say, the first thing, where did I make a mistake? Instead of you made the mistake, where did I make a mistake? And I think owning that just makes you, just endears you more to the people that work with you. Thirdly, as a leader, don't be concerned with being liked. I've always said, I would love it if you liked me. If you don't like me, I just still need you to respect me, because no one that ever works for me is not going to be respected. I respect their right as a human being. I respect their mind for the ideas they have, whether they're right, wrong, I agree or disagree, doesn't matter. I'm one of these people that I don't see why we have to post negative stuff on Facebook. I think it makes the person posting it look short-sighted. I think it's better to be respected. I think it's okay to have an opinion, and I have to be that way with the people that work for me. And then also remember, if you're the CEO, if you're the leader, you have to have energy and you have to have a positive attitude. If you don't, it's going to be tough for you. Now, lastly, when it comes to leadership, don't limit your exposure to podcasts, your exposure to great books, your exposure to other women, other people who you can learn from. I always love a good fictional book, but I always counter it with reading something about business. My neighbor and I that horse ride together, we're both into Brené Brown, so we're sharing thoughts on Daring Greatly right now. Just great stuff like that that's available to you. Don't sell yourself short on that. Amen, Becky Barrick. It's so good to see you. I love following your posts, and those kiddos are getting big. All right, ladies, just wanted to share that with you today. There are plenty of other pitfalls, but they all seem to fall under people, processes, math, and leadership. Listen to this again and share your thoughts with me. Make it a great day.